Previously on the MidFlight Crisis. But you continued to experiment with these creatures.
They could hold the secrets to immortality. I just needed more time.
It doesn't work that way.
They say we're free to go, except for the Empress.
And engage the super secret failsafe protocol.
We don't have much time.
Much time for what?
Your case.
When is our case scheduled?
Right now. This is Cryo Corp.
You're about to enter the courtroom of the Honorable Justice Ravencott.
Jessica?
She's the judge?
That's right. The people are real. The cases are real. The struggle is real. This is Cryo Court.
Hey guys, looks like they made me the presiding judge over this case.
They made you a judge?
Also, she was there when it happened.
When what happened?
What?
Exactly. Honestly, you're going to make this very difficult if you go off record. Practice what we rehearsed.
I don't remember anything.
We're innocent.
Perfect. We're ready to proceed.
Don't worry, there's no conflict of interest or anything. The company said it was fine. We'll figure this whole thing out together.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
Silence! I will have order in my court. One more misstep from the defense, and I'll hold all of you in contempt of court. All right, let's get started. Mr. Azimuth and Mr. Baudelaire, I presume.
Technically, it's...
Close enough.
Also, you know us.
It's for the court. Again, no worries. You'll be fine. You may start with your opening statements, Mr. Tortuga.
I've gone by several monikers, with Mr. Tortuga being one. Some may also know me as the Duke of Discovery, the Prince of Prosecution.
Cryo Corp hired their best lawyer to fight us.
I still believe in this company. I'm sure all this is a formality. They need to put on a show to placate senior management. This is just a show.
Are you sure?
Honestly, I have no earthly idea. I could be completely wrong.
The Earl of Evidence, the Marquis of Moot, the Viscount of Verdicts, as well as the King of Torts.
Oh, did somebody say tarts? I can whip up a few delicious tarts. Oh, yeah, I can.
No.
No one said that.
Oh, it would only take a minute, don't you know? Yeah.
Sustained. You can make the tarts if you'd like.
Oh, and you betcha my turbo-boosted treacle tarts, they won't disappoint at all, not at all.
If you'll continue, Mr. Tortuga.
Well, sometimes they do come out a little burnt, a little bit.
Please, Mr. Tortuga.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we will begin to unravel the cosmic web of lies these deviants have been weaving since joining our fine establishment here at Cryo Corp.
Are we the deviants?
Yeah, I think that's what they're calling us.
But I was about to be Employee of the Month. What comes to mind when you hear these things? Fuzzy bunnies, a book of avocado puns, and a wacky inflatable arm-flailing tube man. These are all good things, aren't they?
Very good. We've hit guac bottom.
This court decision may very well determine our freedom and fortunes, and you're dishing out avocado puns right now?
Avocado don't know what to tell you. It's a coping mechanism.
We've all heard of the shards of Andromeda. Terrible stuff, right?
Oh, that's terrible. That's very bad.
For the love of Libra, he's good. He's very good.
These shards have the power to destroy everything good here in the universe, including fuzzy bunnies. You don't want fuzzy bunnies destroyed now, do you?
No, of course not.
Objection. Relevancy.
Sustained, Mr. Tortuga.
Ladies and gentlemen, whether it's fuzzy bunny or fuzzy logic, all will become clear to you. At the end of the solar cycle, I'm but a humble space lawyer representing a family company. We will prove beyond a lunar eclipse of a doubt that these two before you today are more dangerous than you can ever imagine, and that this theft is a footnote in their infamous careers as cosmic criminals.
Who picked the jury again?
Who do you think?
Also, your complimentary meal vouchers will be dispensed following the verdict. Cryo Corp thanks you for your service.
And now we'll hear from the defense. Although I don't see how you can follow after that amazing introduction from Cryo Corp.
That doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, she still works for the company that's prosecuting us.
Silence! There will be order in my court. Mr. Gatsby, you may begin.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and Jim from accounting.
Jim's here?
1 second, Your Honor. You're aware of Jim?
From accounting?
Jim is currently in a high-profile lawsuit with Cryo Corp, and if he wins, he'll have a controlling interest in the company at well over 30% ownership.
Jim would become a major stakeholder.
He would prefer if you didn't mention the word stake. What with Jim being a half-vampire and all, sensitive subject matter. All right, we're back.
Good. I was getting concerned that you were stalling because you realized there's no credible evidence to exonerate these two individuals.
They're not guilty.
You're right. We shouldn't jump to conclusions.
Nothing but optimistic.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here because my clients have been wrongfully accused. They were unaware of these...
Serendibites.
Right. They were unaware of these serendibites being the alleged dangerous shards of Andromeda.
Objection! These shards have destroyed multiple planetary systems.
Sustained. Mr. Gatsby, please continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. My clients are blissfully ignorant of these shards, and on behalf of my clients, I apologize to the court. That should be enough. Their only crime is that they care so much about this amazing company. And who wouldn't? My clients are innocent on all counts, and we'll prove it to you today.
And with that, we'll proceed to witness testimony and cross-examination.
Your Honor, we call forth a surprise witness.
We weren't informed about this.
Surprise! I call to the stand Susanna Auroraborn of the House McScruffleson, last of her name, the Sunburnt, queen of the first colonists, poppy seed of the great everything bagel, breaker of plates, mother of sand dragons.
Sasana.
Jessica.
Oh, good time for an intermission. Oh, perhaps with a fried avocado ice cream, I think. I prepared it earlier. What do you think, Elon? One?
I'll take one.
Oh, this one I prepared especially for the both of you. Take extreme caution. When the time is right, you'll know what to do.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm just happy to cater to the court, you know.
In your own words, Your Highness, what happened down on Aurelia?
These two absconded with my royal necklace.
As well as an important book on serendibites, correct?
Hey, we thought that was a gift.
Objection. Relevancy.
I only mean to help establish the events as they transpired.
I'll allow it.
Your Highness, what are serendibites?
They are dangerous crystals comprising the shards of Andromeda.
And are you permitted to own these shards?
Yes, we have special permits granted to us by an intergalactic collective, all perfectly legal.
And would you agree that any theft of said serendibites would constitute a danger to all known systems, simply predicated on the fact that they've been removed from a secured and permitted facility?
Yes, that is correct.
And where is your necklace and that serendibite book?
The necklace is currently in the possession of Cryo Corp, but we've reached a settlement out of court, which I cannot discuss further. The serendibite book is back in our possession on Aurelia.
And finally, do these individuals pose a danger to mankind if they were to continue their supposed quest to obtain serendibites?
Our whole society would burn to ashes if they did.
That is all. Thank you, Your Highness.
I call Matthew Renofair to the stand.
Oh my God, Particle, it's Matthew.
First question. Who is your current employer?
Cryo Corp.
And what do you do for that company?
My coworker and I are Torpor Techs. We maintain passengers in cryosleep while they travel from one destination to another across the cosmos.
And when did you initially find these so-called serendibites?
Well, on a recent assignment in the Outer Rim, we responded to a distress call. We assumed we were changing out power systems, but we realized they were perfectly fine.
Did you purposely remove the core from the power system?
No, we discovered a black crystalline structure inside the cracked core of a power system that we were going to insert into the cryo system.
You're saying you received these power systems untampered from the company?
Yes.
That would mean other teams may have also installed power systems with the crystalline attachments.
Objection! Conjecture!
Overruled. Proceed, Mr. Gatsby.
And that appears that the serendibites are being distributed by Cryo Corp. That will be all. Thank you.
I call Mr. Charles Danger Azimuth. Is Danger really your middle name?
Yes. It's on my Cryo Corp ID.
How long have you been working with the company?
Too long. Am I right? Roughly a year.
And in that time, you've been paired up with 4 different individuals. Why so many?
I don't know. Difference of opinion, carnivorous foliage, intellectual disagreements.
Did you know that these crystals are banned by a galactic treaty?
Well, this is news to me.
If you had found these crystals, why not report them to your supervisor?
I mean, I guess that would have made sense.
Are you against any and all wacky inflatable arm flailing tube men?
Whoa. My position on all wacky inflatable arm flailing tube men has been transparent. It's as clear as Anchor Hawking glass, I tell you. Everyone knows Anchor Hawking.
Yes, of course. The most famous name in glass we know.
Wacky inflatable arm flailing tube men are part of the fabric that holds our fragile psyche together. The only thing that reminds us of our humanity and the vast reaches of space.
Well, then how do you explain this photo of you knowingly deflating a wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man at this girl's quinceañera and this one at a boy's bar mitzvah?
That was years ago, when I was in college. I was young and reckless.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if he's capable of such atrocities then, who knows what he's capable of now? He's run through cryo partners more quickly than cans of nanocomposite hydrogel. And he's... Why are you eating on the stand?
I eat when I get nervous. And I didn't want this fried avocado ice cream to melt. I think there's something in this. Wait a minute. It's a serendibite.
It's a shard of Andromeda! Everyone panic!
I will have order.
It's perfectly fine. We've come across dozens of these.
Dozens? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not the face of your company. This is the face of the destroyer of worlds.
All right, I'm just going to play this one for you in the court, and I'll prove these things are harmless.
I object.
Overruled. This isn't really a doomsday device. I've seen it firsthand. You may proceed, Mr. Azimuth.
Thank you. Let me get this portable play here. All right. Play the serendibite.
What's puzzling you, Ethelbert? One of those quizzes. And it says here, what are these men famous for? Sidney Porter, Samuel Clemens, Charles Dodgson.
Well, they're all great authors.
Well, how come I never heard of them?
Well, you would if they printed their pen names. They're O. Henry, Mark Twain, and Lewis Carroll.
Well, I'll be. Those names are famous. Everybody knows them.
Mm-hmm. Like everybody knows Anchor Hawking, the most famous name in glass.
And that's why Abraham Lincoln would have made a fantastic monarch on Mars.
Oh, wow. Okay, we have a lot to unpack there. Oh, and we're back, broadcasting from our studio on the pale blue dot we call Earth. We've got a great show for you today.
That's right, Charlie. Today we're talking about the history of lawyers. Now, the famous American lawyer, who you may never have heard of, Alan Dershowitz, he said the judges are the weakest link in our system of justice. And they are also the most protected.
So what does that mean?
Well, I think judges, they have to be elected into their position a lot of times. And they're kind of protected because they don't really practice law. They're not exactly liable because they're the end-all be-all.
Objection.
Well, even if there is an objection and it's overturned, the judges don't really get in trouble for making a bad decision.
That makes sense, because who judges the judges?
Very judgy person.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Judge not, lest you be judged.
Louis D. Brandeis, an American lawyer and Supreme Court justice, had said, if we desire respect for the law, we must first make the law respectable.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm. And the term law can be defined as a system of rules in which a particular community or country or even country club recognizes as regulating the actions of its members and which it may be enforced by the imposition of penalties. Although many modern words, especially medical terms, come from Latin and Greek, there is no Greek word for law. So Greek law didn't exist. It was a lawless place. Ancient Egypt based law on the concept called ma'atat, characterized by tradition, rhetorical speech, social equality, and impartiality. And that was actually based on the goddess of the same name who personified concepts of truth, balance, order, harmony, law, morality, and justice. And then she also regulated the stars and the seasons. So similar to the system that we have today.
What was her name again?
Her name was...
You nailed it. I just want to hear it again.
Ma'atat.
Ma'atat.
Yeah.
Ma'at.
No, it's Matt.
It's Matt. I just wanted to hear.
Ancient Egyptian goddess Matt.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't forget the goddess Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in the 22nd century BC, a Sumerian ruler named Ur-Nammu came up with the first extant.
There's going to be a quiz at the end, you guys.
Yes. Extant is your SAT word for the day. That means still existing or still surviving law code. It consisted of causative elements. For example, if ... then ... For example, if Jim robbed the bank, then Jim should go to jail for a certain period of time.
Or the bank cut off Jim's hand.
That's extreme, but, some countries. When in Rome. Now, this law was written on a clay tablet. It survives in the Istanbul Archaeology Museum if you care to go travel to Turkey and see it.
So Istanbul, not Constantinople.
Not Constantinople.
It
contains laws dealing with murderers, thieves, kidnappers, marriage, and slaves. One of those is if a man's slave woman compared herself to her mistress or the wife of the slave owner, or if she speaks insolently to her, disrespectfully, her mouth shall be scoured with a quart of salt.
That's an awful lot of salt.
It doesn't really sound like a punishment to me. I enjoy salt. I would probably like that.
That's a little bit too much salt.
Just a quart? Nah.
Yeah.
That's my daily intake.
That's a little salty there. In 400 BC, Arthashtra, translated to the science of wealth, applies to ancient Eastern law, specifically in India. So it was written in Sanskrit, an ancient language at the time. And I don't know why I say at the time.
It was at the time.
Oh, it wasn't ancient at the time. It
Well,
was just
no,
a
but
language.
It was written in Sanskrit at
it's
the
ancient
time.
now.
It would be in a modern language now.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Likely composed by several authors, although there is some controversy about the original authors. It was very influential from the time of writing until the 12th century when it disappeared. Then it was no longer influential.
Ta-da!
That's how it happens. Includes topics of many issues relating to law, but not just a book about law. The text also includes issues on social welfare, and it was so influential that it was adopted by the royal court and used in royal rulings. And finally, with the advent of British colonialism, Hindu tradition and Sharia law were replaced with a new standard called the common law.
Yeah, that was practiced pretty much all over the region. Japan and China had a unique blend of secular and religious traditions embedded into their laws. So there was not exactly a separation of church and state, so to speak. Japan had a strong tie to the German civil code because, of course, of World War II, when the Axis powers were formed. And Japan was also the first country in the Far East to begin introducing these kind of Western influences into their lives, something outside of Eastern Asia and the Far East. Now, in 1949, the Communist Party won leadership of the People's Republic of China. This entailed private rights being sacrificed for administrative law. There were lots of reforms happening with the rise of China's industrialization, mostly economic, but it did affect the private sector somewhat. China then also joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, and that took 15 years of negotiating. Quite a long contract talk.
That is a long talk. But probably one of the oldest talks had occurred back in the Roman Empire. Probably one of the oldest recorded legal systems had occurred in the Roman Empire. The judge at the time, or iudex, was a person and an ordinary citizen of Rome, and previous legal cases were not taken into consideration as precedent as they are today. This way, each case was decided with a fresh perspective.
That's interesting. So they just picked out random people with no legal experience or history. Kind of like being picked for jury duty, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the juror essentially would become the judge.
Yeah. Have you ever been on jury duty?
I have not. I have been asked potentially to serve on jury duty, getting potential summons, but you get one of those cards in the mail that say like you have to call in a certain number, and then you find out the next day. No, you find out that night if you're going to go in the next day,
right?
To be part of the jury, and then I wasn't, so that was the closest I've gotten to jury duty.
I don't know if I ever told you. I got jury. I've never had jury duty, and I was 29 years old when we started classes together.
Mm-hmm. A lifetime ago.
The first day of class was supposed to be jury duty.
Really?
I wrote to the judge and I was like, "Hey, I know I've never been on jury duty, and I know this is asking a lot, but this is my first day of class. I think this is kind of imperative that I'm there." So his secretary wrote back and said, "We'll let you off the hook this time, but you're definitely going the next time it comes around." I was like, "Okay," and then I never heard anything back.
Oh, wow.
So I got lucky, I guess.
Yeah.
Or there's a warrant out for my arrest. I don't know.
For not doing jury duty?
Now, speaking of being arrested or murdered by your best friend, Julius Caesar, the Roman Empire,
and the founder of the Caesar salad.
And the pizza place.
Mm-hmm.
That may have been his son, Little Caesar.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said, "If you must break the law, do it to seize power. In all other cases, observe it."
That's terrible advice.
He should take his own advice. Well, he did take his own advice because he seized power.
Either you follow the law or you immediately rise up to destroy it.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the two
There's
options.
no room for compromise.
Well, that's just common criminal. Do you want to be a common criminal?
I mean, as opposed to an uncommon criminal? Or like a rare or a holographic criminal?
Rebel.
Yeah. A misprint criminal?
Che Guevara.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now, there are two main laws that emerged during the Middle Ages after the fall of Rome, and they have coincidentally came from religions. Islam created a new term called jurisprudence. I think I said that correctly. It means legal theory or the study of law. And there was also the Sharia law that we talked about, and there's another law called fiqh. I think it's F-I-Q-H. Sharia is the infallible law itself, which is written in the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
Fiqh is actually the practice of law by humans. So it can be changed or amended because the practice itself is fallible and understood to be fallible just as humans are fallible.
No, humans are perfect.
Well, there was this one guy, but that's another story. Anyway.
You're talking about Jeff Goldblum, obviously, right?
Oh, yeah, the guy in Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Life finds a way.
Very, very smart man. Does the water run this way or does the water run that way? Touch my hand, please. No, but Sharia law is infallible because it's the word of God, so therefore it can't be changed. Whereas fiqh law is made up by man or studied by man. It can be changed.
Now, the oldest still functioning law in the Western world is Catholicism. Fun fact. Roman law preceded this law, but that fell with the fall of Rome.
As it tends to do.
Mm-hmm. So Catholicism came before the rise of most European countries and the civil codes that came with those countries. And it wasn't codified, wasn't necessarily organized until 1917 by Pope Benedict XV.
So from the Middle Ages to 1900s, it was never written down.
Mm-hmm. It was spread by word of mouth. If it was written down, it was only in certain texts by monks.
Well, priests.
Priests?
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're Catholic monks, aren't there? I believe there are.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll say there are. And if we're wrong, right in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Charlemagne, you've probably heard of him, he united Central and Western Europe during his reign as the French king while he was concurrently the Roman emperor of the Roman Empire. After the division of his kingdom, law fell greatly to lords who owned large pieces of land and had tenants and peasants working for them, and other similar levels of hierarchy along with the lords. More so than like a centralized sector, more than a centralized government, so to speak. This lasted throughout the Middle Ages. And in medieval.
I mean,
Middle-earthal.
It wasn't a happy time, I assume.
Medieval, or Europe.
Medieval
times! They revisited the Justinian Code, which was the code of law written down in the eastern part of the Roman Empire. It was first written in Latin, which was the official language of the government at the time. And most citizens only spoke Greek. So the law was eventually translated into Greek and used by the Ottoman Empire. Now, this formed the basic legal code for modern Greece. Greece finally got laws.
Mm-hmm.
And through other channels...
And Ottomans.
And Ottomans, yeah. That great Greek furniture invention, the footstool.
Mm-hmm.
Through other channels that were very similar, it basically formed the modern legal code that was used in the vast majority of the world today.
I busted a mirror, and I got 7 years bad luck, but my lawyer thinks he can get me 5. Stephen Wright, stand-up comedian and actor.
He said that.
He said that. History of lawyers. Lawyers started in Athens in ancient Greece. Orators would speak on behalf of a friend. Granted, they didn't have any kind of background or anything. They were just some random person that thought that they could do it. They're not supposed to be paid for their services. They were supposed to do it pro bono for every case. And Emperor Claudius abolished a ban on accepting fees in ancient Rome for any kind of services. This could be considered the first time that legal profession could practice openly.
Oh, you think they made as much money as they do today?
No.
No, not at all.
Not nearly enough. There was a fee cap that was very roughly calculated at 10,000 sestertii.
Nailed it.
Mm-hmm. About $2,500 today, adjusted for inflation.
That's $200 a month.
I mean, I'm assuming that there'd be enough to buy your staples back then.
Well, this isn't today's money.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good hobby, maybe. But in Rome, the profession was also known as a jurisconsult, which were these students were trained in speech, not necessarily law. But that's okay.
Is that okay?
It is okay because
Okay.
the judges were also not trained in law. They were the everyday citizens.
Well,
right?
how do you have a whole legal system of people that don't even know what the law is?
Well, they kind of knew what the law was. They just weren't exactly trained in the law. The profession was heavily regulated during the Byzantine Empire. And in the 4th century, a lawyer had to be inscribed on a bar. Now, that may sound familiar when you're talking about lawyers, a bar. That's the area that divided the judge from the spectators. Hence the term passing the bar.
Mind
from
blown.
becoming a spectator to a lawyer. I thought that was pretty cool. By the 6th century, a 4-year degree was required to profess to be a lawyer. And after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the profession of lawyer quickly fell by the wayside. We went to a more lawless time.
But it was brought back into existence in the 13th century. Canon law was the main concentration for the Catholic Church, with lawyers desiring to be priests who formed the New League of Lawyers.
Lawyer priests.
Mm-hmm.
Priest
Lawyer
lawyers.
priests.
We should make a show on Netflix.
On the next episode of Lawyer Priest, I object. My witness, God.
Prove me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong?
So, the first oath of the court, according to the New League of Lawyers, that we know, swearing in, happened in France in 1231. This also happened in London in 1237. Now, by 1275, all ecclesiastical courts required an oath to be sworn in, and punishment was outlined due to lawyers practicing deceit. So that was one of the first times that if a lawyer was caught breaking the law, they were punished.
Put your hand here. Say you're going to tell the truth. If you don't tell the truth, your hand's going to catch on fire.
Exactly. So they would have a book in which you would swear upon, and the only book that the majority of people knew what it was, that they would all be in agreement that this was an important text in order to swear on, which was the Holy Bible.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from.
So Otto von Bismarck, the Prince of Bismarck, who unified Germany in the 19th century, he said, "Laws are like sausages. It is better not to see them being made." I don't know if you've ever watched Congress on C-SPAN. Riveting television. Now, what about America? There started to be powerful local leaders who were prominent in the entire colony back before we were a full-fledged country. And there are currently 1 million people now that hold law degrees.
Do you remember like the original song from like the 50 nifty United States from the 13 original colonies?
I have never heard that song.
Oh, that was like something we had to learn in like elementary school.
I remember the Bill song.
Yeah.
I'm just a Bill
on Capitol Hill.
Memories. So we've talked about lawyers and the history of lawyers. The profession in the U.S. kind of went the way of everything else. You had to eventually get a 4-year degree and then master's. So let's talk about some weird laws.
Okay.
In Wilbur, Washington, it is illegal to ride an ugly horse.
How do you define an ugly horse?
It's
like an unkept horse?
Bit of a gray area. But in Mojave County, Arizona, if anyone is caught stealing soap, he must wash himself with it until the soap is gone.
But he's effectively stolen it.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a kid stealing candy, you make him eat the whole jar. Or you catch a kid smoking and you make him smoke the whole pack.
Oh, God. You know, in North Dakota, no one can be arrested on the 4th of July, a holiday that is commonly known as Five Finger Discount Day.
What? Five? Oh, because you steal it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, using your 5 fingers to grab something. So, I mean, like, it's not like it's like the purge or anything. I mean, like, you can't, it's not all crime is legal.
We'll arrest you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Enjoy the fireworks.
Take a candy bar, it's okay.
Be at your house, okay? Because we're coming by.
Yeah. It's illegal in Tennessee for an atheist to hold office.
Oh, part of the Bible Belt.
Mm-hmm. According to Minneapolis law, a person who double parks a car will be put on a chain gang with only bread and water to eat. That's an old law.
I agree. Bad parking should have a penalty.
You
it's
really
not
shouldn't
that
double
hard.
park.
It's not that hard.
That's not very considerate.
Go back to kindergarten if you can't keep it between the lines.
The chain gang's a little bit rough.
I don't think so. Severe punishment for severe.
You seem pretty adamant about this.
Maybe a week. Give it a week in the chain
Are you just going to abandon your car and not declare ownership if you were caught doing that?
Well, you got to register your car, so they'll figure it out eventually.
They just change the plates.
I didn't park it. I swear I didn't park it. In Waco, Texas, it is illegal to throw a banana peel onto the street because a horse could slip on it.
Obviously, this is very important. You don't want horses slipping in Waco, Texas.
Well, we've all seen the cartoons where they throw a banana peel down and someone slides on it and falls, right? It's really funny. It's a shtick. It's been around forever. But did you know that banana peels are actually really slippery? And at one time, the banana peel was considered a public hazard in several towns because it was so slippery. People actually were falling on loads of banana peels.
I think more people are killed today by vending machines than slipping on banana peels.
Why? I didn't say it was killed. It was just a comedic effect.
There's nothing funny about slipping on a banana peel.
Okay. We'll agree to disagree. We're never watching Looney Tunes together. In Gainesville County, Georgia, just up the road from us, it is against the law to eat fried chicken in any other way except with your bare hands.
Is that true?
I agree with that, yes. Yes, it is true. As much as it may seem absurd, it is enforced. In 2009, a 91-year-old visitor from Louisiana was arrested and charged for eating fried chicken with a fork. Now, this law has been in existence since 1965 because the art of eating fried chicken with your hands is considered a quote-unquote culinary delicacy sacred to this municipality.
All right, first I have two things with this. This person's 91 years old. I feel like they get a pass. Second, they're from Louisiana, so they don't know Georgia municipality laws. We didn't know that, and we're from Georgia.
I want to see this whole scenario play out. I wish I was there, because I can see the cops coming up, drawing their guns. Sir, put down the fork! Put down the fork! He's like, what? I'm 91. Why are you putting a gun in my face? And he puts it in his mouth, and they slap the cups on him, throw him in the back of the car.
Oh, God.
I want to see it. We should make the movie.
Offer a piece of chicken. Fried and bona fide. Under Minnesota state law, it is illegal to cross state lines with a duck on your head. Anywhere else is fine.
So Georgia to Tennessee, we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
California to Nevada, it's fine.
I also extended that to the location of the duck. You can hold it at your side, or you can carry it in a small backpack.
Can you put it on your head, walk up to the state line, hold it, walk across the state line, and then put it back on your head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly legal. Got it.
Just like in the whole facilitation of going across a state line, you can't carry a duck on your head.
Glad we spent that much time on it.
Mm-hmm. No bicycles are allowed in tennis courts in Idaho and California. In Connecticut, no one is allowed to walk backwards after sunset. I mean, that's obviously a safety concern.
You're a vampire. If you walk backwards after sunset, that's...
And now we're going to go international for a second. A woman can legally kill her cheating husband in Hong Kong, but she can only do it with her bare hands.
So she has to be incredibly strong or well-trained.
Yes, both or either.
I have a set of skills.
Okay, Liam.
Particular set of skills that makes my... I don't know. Keep going.
I will find you. Dueling in Paraguay is legal as long as both participants are blood donors. I feel like we need to extend that.
That is finding like the smallest silver lining possible. If you guys are gonna kill each other, at least donate blood.
Well, let's throw a couple of IVs in first.
Now, in Athens, Greece, if you're dressed poorly,
not Athens, Georgia,
in Greece, you can be arrested if you're dressed poorly. It is illegal to name animals that will be eaten at a later time in Australia. So no naming the cows, no naming the kangaroos. And yes, we just checked. They eat kangaroos. Some do.
Yeah, it's legal. The supply is actually very tight in the United States. So you actually won't find it in a grocery store, butcher shops. It's not even legal to sell at a farmer's market where you find other meats like ostrich or buffalo. Yeah.
I would definitely try kangaroo, I think. They're jerks. Have you seen the video of the guy getting his dog back from a kangaroo that was like choking it out?
Yeah.
He goes up and punches him. It was awesome. Anyway.
That was crazy.
It's illegal to change a light bulb in Victoria, Australia, unless you're a professional electrician. So how many citizens does it take to change a light bulb? You can't.
Because you're not licensed.
It is illegal not to smile, or to not smile, rather, in Milan, Italy, unless you're at a funeral or visiting a hospital. And this is actually punishable by a fine.
So there's a smile police?
Yeah, they walk around. Show me your teeth. I said smile.
Where's that duck? It better not be on your head.
Don't you cross that line. It's illegal for monks to reincarnate in China without the government's permission.
How many times does that happen?
Oh, you have no idea. Now, there are another part of law that we should discuss are superfluous lawsuits that were kind of ridiculous at the time. One of probably the most famous lawsuits, and I really, if you don't know the story, I'll tell you, but this is a really sad story.
Yeah, we're fine. We don't have time for it.
Okay, we'll skip it. No.
All right, tell us the story.
Okay. Everybody's heard about the lady who sued McDonald's for hot coffee, right? Everybody makes fun of her. It was a really sad story. Her name was Stella Liebeck, and she originally her grandson was driving her. She couldn't even drive super well, but he gave her the coffee. She put it in between her legs because she was doing stuff. Seems safe enough for just coffee, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is McDonald's used to heat their coffee. I think it was 190 degrees. It was almost boiling water.
God.
And he backed up, and he had to stop unexpectedly, I believe is what happened. Something happened that caused her to jostle a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It spilled on her thighs and down into her groin area. She had third-degree burns that had to be fixed surgically. She had to have skin grafts.
Oh, God.
Now, and all she wanted was for McDonald's to pay for her medical bills. It seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Now, most other restaurants, by the way, they serve their coffee at 150 degrees, which is now what McDonald's does. But you can't serve coffee that hot because it's really dangerous to drink. I mean, she had third-degree burns, but she went through months of recovery. All she wanted was McDonald's to pay her medical bills. They absolutely refused. So she was eventually settled out of court for $3 million, but she didn't get anywhere near that. She barely got enough to pay for her medical bills after all this anguish and time. So I feel really bad for her because a lot of people make all kinds of conjecture about what really happened.
And not really knowing the true story.
Right. So that just goes to show you that a lot of these stories are very difficult to weed out as true or fiction, and what's actually true and what's kind of far-fetched and become a wives' tale over time.
So here are 3 superfluous lawsuits you may have heard about because these were all reported as fact by the British newspaper, The Telegraph. One was a Winnebago owner who successfully sued over misunderstanding cruise control. So he thought that having a Winnebago in cruise control meant that it drove itself. That is not true.
Not at all.
Yeah. There's another superfluous lawsuit of a woman who slipped in a puddle of soda in a restaurant, breaking her coccyx and then causing the creation of the yellow hazard sign. Precaution, wet floor.
Coccyx, by the way, that's your tailbone.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And finally, there was a lawsuit which involved a thief that had broke into a house and was unwittingly locked in a garage for a week while the family was on vacation.
Yeah, I heard he had to survive off of dog food.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. So all of these are actually untrue.
What?
Yeah, but they were reported as facts in the Telegraph.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 things we can learn from these types of stories. Do your own research and make sure that the story is true, which can be difficult to do because if a paper like the Telegraph in Britain reports it as true, one would think it was true, but not necessarily. And also make sure you find out the whole story, because there are other aspects, just like Stella Lieback, there were extenuating circumstances that were not reported. So make sure you look at it from every angle, just so you have a better grasp of everything in life. And I think that'll apply to your own health care, finding out the best routes to go, but also talk to your doctor and trust your doctor. Anytime you go into a new job or career, look at every aspect, and even something as simple as a vacation spot. Look and see what the advantages and cons are. Just be more aware, do more research.
So this is really interesting. Subway was successfully sued from a teenager because he had measured their foot-long sub at only 11 inches, and it wasn't a foot long.
It was less than a foot long.
Yeah.
But he got charged full price.
Yeah, but with the legal fees alone, I'm sure it made for a very expensive sub sandwich. Another suit against a major corporation was a customer had sued Red Bull because their drink was not energizing enough.
You know, it's funny. I have an adverse reaction to caffeine. Not an adverse reaction, but it does not wake me up.
Really?
I took it for a master's degree, and I almost fell asleep in class. It was horrible. But Red Bull, interestingly, does give me wings. It does give me energy.
Oh, wow.
So I guess it's just the other vitamins and minerals and things in it. But
it could be the way in which your body processes the caffeine.
Could be, because it was a caffeine pill I took for class, and that did not work at all.
Mm-hmm.
Made me way more sleepy.
Yeah.
Another superfluous lawsuit. A man sued his wife over what he called an ugly baby. So apparently this woman had not had the same appearance that she had once they met. She admitted during the trial that she had had several plastic surgeries before they met, so she looked completely different from when she was younger. So her genetics did not make her appear the way she did when she met her future husband. So he sued her under false pretenses because she appeared differently than what their baby might look like, and won $120,000.
All joking aside, there are some major issues with superfluous lawsuits and the precedents that they set. A lot of money is wasted that affects everyone, including the amount of money that's spent on government positions like the judge, bailiff, administrative workers, clerical workers, jurors, and jury is paid by tax dollars. I think a lot of people don't realize that. $50 is paid for a regular jury person per day, and up to $60 for a grand jury.
So, Charlie, do you know the difference between a grand jury and a trial jury?
Yes. But for our listeners, if you want to explain it.
Grand jury is the jury that decides if the charges should actually be brought to trial and if the case goes to trial. And a trial jury is the jury that actually decides the verdict once the case is in a trial.
Mm-hmm. Now, being a juror, you have a loss of productivity from your job or your other responsibilities. And finally, there's the taxpayer expense for the payment of jurors, like I said before, as well as possible accommodations for a long trial.
Yeah, like hotel stays and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the French novelist and playwright Honoré de Balzac, that's his real name, he said, laws are spider webs through which the big flies pass and the little ones get caught.
Ain't that the truth?
I think this serendibite speaks for itself. No further questions, Your Honor.
If this is all for witness testimony, we will proceed.
Wait, we also have a surprise witness. This individual is an expert witness that can identify, verify, and classify any and all crystalline structures, including but not limited to serendibites. He is one of the most respected geochemists and crystallographers of our time, as well as the winner of 3 Michelin stars for his brunch place, Butter Milky Way Cafe. I call Dr. Noble Gaslight to the stand.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Oh, I am, yeah. Oh, by the way, the treacle tarts, oh, they're ready. Who wants one, yeah?
These are very good.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's a family recipe, it is, yeah.
These serendibites, they're perfectly harmless, aren't they?
Oh, but of course. Oh, but those aren't the shards of Andromeda.
They aren't?
Oh, no, of course, Silly Goose. Oh, those are fragmented crystals that originated in the Champion Major Cluster. Yeah, they are. Anyone with an online degree in advanced crystallography could see that easily. Oh, they could.
And if they are neither harmful nor illegal shards, there's no case to argue. Would you agree?
Oh, I would, and I hope this testimony helps. I can only do so much. Oh, little joke there, yeah.
You've done excellent work. No further questions, Your Honor.
You may proceed to closing arguments.
But the serendibite already proves...
Please don't argue. The both of you have as much time as you need to conclude your respective case. We'll start off with Mr. Tortuga.
We all know they did it. I think the evidence speaks for itself. Case closed.
Absolutely brilliant. And Mr. Gatsby?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we find ourselves making life-altering decisions for these two individuals which needs the utmost care and consideration.
Oh, we're running out of time. Someone had already rented out this space for a wedding, and they need extra time to reset the gravity. We also need to be out so catering can set up.
Oh, that would be much appreciated, would ya? Oh, hopefully my anti-gravity Gruyere souffle will hold up. Oh, I hope it does.
Wait, what?
His souffle. He's worried it won't hold up in the adjusted gravity.
No, not that. I wasn't given any time for closing arguments.
Statement of client's innocence. Something about believing in the justice system and ending with an overly optimistic outlook. Have I missed anything?
No, Your Honor.
And with that, the jury will deliberate.
Will all heroes be cleared of all criminal charges? Will they stay at Cryo Corp? And how hard is it to get reservations at Butter Milky Way Cafe? I'm asking because I've tried calling multiple times, and they say they're always booked. I'd like to go there next weekend, and I'm willing to wait for first come, first serve at the bar. And finally, will all heroes discover the secrets behind the serendibite? All this and more on the next episode of The MidFlight Crisis.
And that's our show. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, we exist within the universe.
And the universe exists within ourselves. We're all the stuff of stars.
So have a stellar day, everyone. And thanks for stopping by our corner of the cosmos. This has been the MidFlight Crisis podcast. You can support important spaceship repairs and maintenance by subscribing to the MidFlight Crisis Patreon page. We'd love to hear your suggestions about the show and future topics, and we appreciate your support, ratings, and reviews. This endeavor isn't possible without amazing listeners like you. Thanks for sharing your space and time with us. We'll see you on the next adventure.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a line at intrepidtransfer@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.